Hello class, we are starting with the fourth part of this chapter, that is transportation. If we talk about transportation, you know the meaning of transport system, right? Like for example in SST in lower classes you know about that we have to transport the raw material and the products or anything we want to transport from one place to another. There is need of transportation system, right? Similarly in our body or in biology, when we talk about any living organism, there is a need of transportation in the whole body. If we talk particularly of the multicellular organism, in unicellular organism there is a transport, but it is only in the cellular level, in the cytoplasm only. So we basically consider it for the multicellular organism. When we talk about any human being or animal or plant, there is a need of transportation system. So if we say that a human being, the transportation system, what is the need of transportation system? We take up the food, that nutrients are transported to the cell, right? That there is a movement or carrying over the food to the cells. And after that, when there is a formation of energy in the cells, when the cells generate or modify it into different forms of protein or useful forms of carbohydrates that are necessary for our body, then they are transported to the different organs where they are necessary. So the whole system or transportation is controlled by our blood system in our human body. So that blood circulation or the vessels which are going on, that whole system is known as the circulatory system. When we talk about the blood, we talk about the vessels, we talk about the heart. So whole system forms the circulatory system. What is the main use of, or what is the main function of circulatory system? Is they help in transportation of nutrients, respiratory gases, that is carbon dioxide and oxygen, waste products from different cells to the urine, in the form of urine, and they are transported to the excretory system as well. They are released in the form of sweat as well, in the tear form, right? So there are different forms of releasing the waste material. So those waste material are transported through the blood only to the different organs. After that, there are hormones in our body. We will discuss about the hormone in detail in the next chapter as well. After that, there are the enzymes in our body which are necessary to be transported, right? So there is a system of blood in our human body which is necessary, and that forms a circulatory system. But when we talk about the circulatory system, the vessels, these are of three types: artery, vein, and capillary. In the circulatory system, as we said, there is a blood, the heart, and the blood vessels. So, first of all, when we talk about the heart, it's a muscular organ which is as big as your fist size. When you make a fist, that is the size of your heart. It is having the four chambers. The two upper ones are known as atrium, and the two lower ones are known as ventricles. Okay, if we see in the diagram only, okay, if you see the diagram here, there are the two these organs, the first upper one and the second upper one. These are the atriums, and these two lower ones are known as ventricles. The left area, the heart is divided with the help of septum into two sides. The left side is having the oxygenated blood, while the right side is having the deoxygenated blood. What do you mean by oxygenated and deoxygenated blood? Having the oxygen and absence of oxygen. The presence of oxygen and absence of oxygens is known as oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. If you observe the diagram carefully, the flow of blood inside the heart is always through the atrium, and the flow of blood outside the heart, moving outside the heart, is through the ventricle. So in both the cases, in both the atriums, the blood comes from outside of the heart. but in ventricles they come from the atriums. The left ventricle, the blood comes from the left atrium, the right atrium, the blood comes from the right atrium. Okay, so when we talk about how the blood flows, see, when we start with, like for example, the blood enters with the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary means the the scientific name used for the lungs. Okay, so when we say pulmonary, that is wholly related to the lungs. Okay, veins is the what is the difference between vein and artery? See, when we we generally say that the artery is having the oxygenated blood and the veins are having deoxygenated blood. But these two are the exceptions here. The pulmonary artery is having the deoxygenated blood and the pulmonary vein is having the oxygenated blood. Why so? Because the name artery and vein is not given on the basis of the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. The names were given according to their location from the heart. Okay, when the artery, when the vessels, blood vessels are going outside the heart, when the blood flows out from heart to the outside, then that is a artery. So that the pulmonary artery and the aorta are the two arteries through which the blood moves outside the heart, while the veins, when we talk about veins, the veins are the vessels which takes the blood inside the heart. Okay, if it is vena cava or it is a pulmonary vein or any other vein, it moves the blood towards the heart, while artery takes the blood against the heart. Okay, so now when we say the structure of the heart, there are four chambers, and the four chambers, they are divided into two sides, left and right side, with the help of septum. See, if you see carefully, the septum is thin upwards and thick downwards as it goes downwards. Okay, and if we say atrium and ventricles, how they are divided with the help of walls. These V like structure, you can see the gate like structure here. These two are the walls. These walls help to control the backflow of the blood. They prevent the backflow of the blood. If the atrium gives the blood to the ventricle, it does not able to go backwards. Okay, that is the function of these walls. Two walls are present between the atrium and ventricles. Okay, now when we say that in the right atrium, the blood comes from the whole body. Okay, the upper body vena cava from the brain and the from your facial parts, from your head. The vena cava from the lower body, from your legs. Okay, from your abdomen part. All these are the all the blood come from the lower body, that is vena cava. Vena cava is the second largest vessel after the aorta. Aorta is the largest vessel of the human body. Okay, now when we say that from the vena cava, the blood enters the right atrium. After the right atrium, the blood goes towards the right ventricle. After the right ventricle, if you see the from the whole body, the blood is coming, so the blood is already deoxygenated. The blood is already had already supplied the oxygen in all the part of the body. Now it is having the carbon dioxide, so it is deoxygenated blood which comes from the vena cava to the right atrium and then to the right ventricle. Now that deoxygenated blood will go to the lungs. Why so? Because of the transferring of the oxygen. ठीक है? Okay, so we are saying that the transferring of the carbon dioxide to the lungs and the oxygen from lungs to the blood. Okay, so from the right ventricle, the blood moves towards the lungs. This T part is the pulmonary arteries which goes to both the lungs in the right and left side, located right and left side to the heart. Right, the heart is present in between the two lungs. Okay, so they are going in the T point directions so that they can easily be available to the lungs. Okay, after the lung, after they move to the lung, they get oxygenated. they give carbon dioxide and takes oxygen from the lungs, and now the blood becomes the oxygenated blood. Now the oxygenated blood move towards the heart again, and when it moves towards the heart, that is a pulmonary because of the lung, and it is moving towards the heart, then it is known as vein. So the name is pulmonary vein. The pulmonary Through the pulmonary vein, the oxygenated blood move towards the left atrium, and from left atrium it goes to the left ventricle. Now it's oxygenated, it can supply to the whole body. Now, through the left ventricle, it moves towards the aorta, and through aorta, it travels in whole the body, in the lower body as well as in the upper body. Okay, so we are saying that the blood enters two times. First, when it filters the blood through the lungs and then come back, then it goes to the whole body and then come back. So the system is having the two circles, it a 8 like structure. So the system is known as double circulatory system. A human being is having a double circulatory system. Why so? You get the answer now? Okay, can you see there are the middle structure is the W section for the heart, and after that you can see the vessels here, the vena cava, you understand now, the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary vein, and the aorta. After that there are two more words written as the capillaries and the lung capillaries. These are the network like structure which help in the transferring of the oxygen and carbon dioxide and other materials from one cell to the vessels directly. Okay, the capillaries are the very short, small networks of the blood systems which directly in contact with the cells for the transferring of the or the exchange of the materials. If we say double circulatory circulation, a circulatory system in which blood flows twice through the heart in one complete cycle is called double circulation. Okay, so we are saying that double circulatory system is where when we say that the blood moves or travels through the heart two times in a whole complete cycle. Okay, so there is no mixing of oxygenated blood because there is a septum in between. The blood comes inside the heart but the location is different but in the both times. Okay, so the system is a closed circulatory system as well. Okay, in this the system is of two types. The circulation, the whole 8 is of two types, the systematic and the pulmonary system. Okay, just as you can see, the pulmonary, we already said that pulmonary means related to lungs, and circulation means that circulation from heart to lungs and lungs to heart again. And the systematic circulation is a circulation in which the blood moves from heart to the whole system, our whole body, and then from our whole body to the heart. It's here again that you can see that oxygenated, the we generally say that the left whole side. See, if you we explain, you can see it's a right. Okay, but when we see according to our heart, okay, then it's in the left side. Okay, the left side is oxygenated blood and the right side of the heart or the whole system is deoxygenated blood. Okay, again, the advantages of the double circulatory system, I'm repeating for you all. The separation of the right side and the left side of the heart is useful to keep the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Okay, one more point. If you ever heard of the case that there is a hole in the heart, then the child won't be able to survive after 5 to 6 year age. Why so? Because due to that small, minute hole in the heart, there is a chances of mixing of the blood on both sides. The hole in the heart means the hole in the septum part. Okay, the wall between the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. Then the mixing of the blood take place, and due to that mixing of the blood, the efficiency of getting the energy decreases. And as we know, from the child to the adulthood, when we start growing, we need much more energy. So the child won't be able to survive due to that decrease or the deficiency in that increase energy, supply of energy, due to which it may lead to death as well. Okay, but in today's life there are many surgeries to prevent that. That is not a point. We are talking about that specifically about the mixing of what are the impacts of mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, now next is surge separation allow a highly efficiency supply of oxygen to the body. Okay, we are saying the same thing, we are repeating the same things, but we have to give pinpoint the other different them differently. Okay, then third point, this is very useful in those animals, birds and mammals, which have high energy need to maintain the body temperature. We know that birds and mammals are the warm blooded animals and they need to maintain the body temperature. When we talk about the blood pressure, as the name suggests, the blood exerting a pressure on the walls of the arteries, then it is known as a blood pressure. The maximum blood pressure or the maximum force exerted by the blood on the arterial or any vessel wall is during the constriction of the heart. When the heart constrict, then the blood flows outside, that means through the arteries it goes towards the whole body or towards the lung. During that constriction, the blood move with very much pressure, and that pressure in the arteries is maximum to be at max to be the 120 mmHg. And during the diastole, it's opposite, that during the relaxation, that is the diastolic pressure, we consider that to be the 80 mmHg. The whole process of blood pressure, the measuring of these pressures, that 120, 80 mmHg, and all these are, we can do it with the help of the sphygmomanometer. Okay, and during this whole process, as when the blood pressure is very much high, then that condition is also known as the hypertension. And why the hypertension is caused? Due to the constriction of arteries. When the artery size is small, either due to the increase in the pressure of the arteries, there is a pressure from outside environment, or either due to the stress or any environmental pressure, the arteries get constricted, or there is a deposition of the fat molecules into the vessels, that also decreases the lumen part or the movement part of the blood. That's why the arteriole constricted, and they start restricting the flow of blood, and that's why the blood start exerting the pressure on the walls. That is known as the high BP or high blood pressure. That is also known as the hypertension. That is, the hyper means more, and tension is related to the stress level also. You can correlate with them also, that when there is an increase in stress level, then it is known as the hypertension. Okay, now it may lead to the rupture of arteries and internal bleeding. Internal bleeding means that during the exerting of the pressure of the blood on the walls, sometimes the walls of the vessels rupture due to that pressure and causes the internal bleeding, which we generally won't be able to understand in the normal phenomena. But we know that during the blood pressures, we generally listen that due to the high blood pressure, the brain damages. Why so? Because the vessels in our brain get burst or ruptured, due to which the blood flows in the blood and the person died. Okay, so there are many cases which even we don't able to understand. Okay, so during the systole and diastolic movement, there is a sound that comes, and due to which we can correlate the pressure of the of the human being. The blood pressure of the human being can be measured with the help of that sound. Those sounds are known as the lubbed up sounds that comes from the opening and closing of the walls of the heart. Okay, there are the valves in the heart. When it closes or opens with the maximum pressure, basically on closes it sounds. When it closes with the very much pressure, it makes a sound, and that sound relates to the pressure with which it is made. Okay, the timings and the pressure is all correlated in these things. The first sound is known as lub and the second sound is known as dub, and during that the pressure is 120 and 80, should be 120 and 80. If it varies, then there will be a high bp or the low bp, as you know. Okay, this machine, as you can see, this machine is known as the sphygmomanometer. Okay, now when we talk about the blood vessels, we know that there are the arteries and there are the veins, and between the arteries and veins, there are the capillaries. But when we talk about them in detail, as you can see the diagram here, that the blood flows through the artery. From the heart, the blood flows through the artery, either in the systematic or in the pulmonary. In both the cases, the phenomena will be same, but the name will be changed, as it's a pulmonary. It can be a pulmonary artery or the aorta. Okay, so from the heart, the blood flows towards the artery, and then the artery get branched into many segments for different parts of the body. Then the artery becomes short and in many fragments, and it forms a arteriole. It's a branch like structure in a tree. Okay, then arteriole, then specifically again divided into sub blood vessels, and those form the capillaries, and these capillaries permit the diffusion of oxygen and nutrients from the blood into the tissues. It helps to transfer the oxygen and nutrients to the cells or the tissues, and the different waste material, diffusion of the waste material of metabolism, such as carbon dioxide, urine, or the ammonia. All these are travel from tissues or the cell to the blood. It enters to the blood or with the help of capillaries only. As you can see, the capillaries are very small and they are also very thin for the easy diffusion, whereas the arteries, arterioles, venules, and veins are thick as compared to of the capillaries. The diffusion is quite difficult in these vessels, so it's very easy and rapid in capillaries. Okay, after that, when the capillaries take all the waste material and give all the useful material to the cells, then those deoxygenated blood capillaries start forming, combining all the branches of all the capillaries and form the venules. And many venules combine to form the vein, and then this vein enters the heart. Now again, it can enter the heart in the form of vena cava if it comes from the blood whole body, and it comes in the form of pulmonary vein if it comes from the lungs. Okay, as you see the diagram or the difference between the thickness of the artery, vein, and capillaries, you don't have to go in the details of the labelings, but for quite understanding, you so that you will be able to understand it easily, that arteries are much more thicker. See, the lumen part is very small because the pressure maintained by in arteries from the blood, as it comes directly from the heart, the pressure is very much high. So the thickness of the vessels should be maintained so that the uh, so that it can bear that pressure and does not rupture easily. Okay, while in the veins the thickness is less. Why so? Because the pressure is less, as well as the flow of blood is decreasing. The speed is decreasing. The accommodation of much more blood is taking place in the veins. Okay, are approximately 60 to 70% of the blood moves through the veins. As the speed is very slow in the veins, it takes much more times in the vein. The arteries take quite easier time. It takes very less time, but in veins it takes very much time. So the veins take approximately in all over our body, 60% of our blood is always in the veins. Okay, after that you can see the capillaries. It's a single celled vessels. These single cell vessels help in the diffusion, easy diffusion. Now, when we talk about the difference between the arteries and the veins, they are the you don't have to go for all the points, but there are main points which we will label and we will give points to. Okay, so first is they carry blood away from the heart. As I said you that is, the veins and arteries are not on the basis of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, but is on the basis of the blood away from the heart and towards the heart. Okay, so the arteries carry the blood away from the heart. Okay, while the veins carry blood towards the heart. This point, then after that, it carries oxygenated blood. Generally, it carries the oxygenated blood only. We are not having doubt in that. But there is an exception that pulmonary artery is having the deoxygenated blood. Similarly, the veins carry the deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary veins. So this is also important. Okay, so these all points are on the basis of different function, structure, and the location of the arteries and the veins. Okay, so it depends on how the question comes in the paper or how it is to be asked. Then, on the basis of that, you will give the answer. Like, for example, it carries the blood, so on the basis of the blood flows, or what is on the basis of the basic difference, then you can write these 2 points. But the third point, if it's written that deeply seated and superficially seated, means when we talk about the veins and arteries, in if we start locating on our palm itself. Okay, when we see our hands, we can see the blue lines or the green lines on our heart, on our hands. Okay, these green lines are not the arteries but the veins. Why they are veins? Because the veins are always located upward and the arteries are deeply inside, that they cannot be easily located. Okay, so on the basis of location, arteries and veins, the arteries are deeply seated and the veins are superficially seated. Okay, after that, the artery is having the thick muscles. Why? You will write the difference during the difference. You will write the reason as well, because to maintain the pressure, to avoid the circumstances of rupturing, the thick muscular walls are present. Okay, while the vein, thin and less muscular walls are there. Okay, during this, we all the narrow lumen and the vein is having the wider lumen. Okay, this is also these two, the muscular walls and the lumen. These two are the structural difference of the arteries and veins. After that, the blood flow with jerk. The blood flows without jerk. Why so? The jerk means jhatka. We specifically means that we are giving a pressure from the heart. When the heart pumps, they move to with a jerk, with the pressure. Okay, that pressure is occur from side by side in the time, in the instant times. It comes in the arteries but not in the veins, as the blood pressure decrease very much in the veins. Okay, so it is on the basis of the function as well. Okay, arteries, walls are elastic, they are flexible. If they are hard, they won't be able to maintain the pressure inside the arteries. If they are hard like the thick wall, they won't be able to be flexible, and the during that pressure, the when the the blood exerts the pressure on the wall, there will be an easy breakage condition. While in the veins, the walls are non-elastic. Why they are non-elastic? Because there is no pressure in the veins. There is no need of the movement, as well as if there is a as we know that the flow is very less, and if there is elasticity, there is a chances of backflow as well. To remove that chances, there is a absence of elasticity in vein and the presence of elasticity in the arteries. Okay, after that, they do not collapse when empty, but they collapse when empty. Why so? Because they are very thick, the arteries are very thick and are having the collagen fibers as well. Cartilaginous and collagen fibers are present in the arteries, which help them to prevent them from collapsing, while in the veins, the the amount of collagen fiber is less. That's why they will get collapse. But it generally does not occur because in the veins there is always a 60% of blood. So that case is only when we take the vessels and arteries in the experimental or science lab. They're talking about that thing only. Okay, so the out of these eight, these 5 points are very necessary, that the blood, arteries and veins on the basis of the on the basis of the blood, they are moving towards or away from the heart. Then after that they carry oxygenated or deoxygenated blood, where they are located, the thickness of the wall present, and the elasticity of the wall. When we talk about the capillaries, as we said, the capillaries are branched from the arterioles and the arteries, and they are very small, which directly in contact with the tissues and the cells, which gives the easy access for the transportation or exchange of the gases and the waste material or the nutrients. Okay, all the function of the bloods are carried out through the capillaries, like like digested food is picked from the small intestine. We know that the in small intestine, we talked about in digestion, that there is a blood vessels present in the villi, and those help in the absorption of the nutrients. So that absorption from the vessels, those vessels are also the capillaries there in the small intestine, in the villi. Okay, and the oxygen from the alveoli, around the alveoli, the whole structure, as you studied in the uh, respiratory part, that the alveoli are wholly covered with the capillaries, and due to which you will get the more surface area for exchange of gases. Okay, so capillaries, they are very small, they increase the surface area for easy exchange and more exchange, as well as they are very thin for easy diffusion. Okay, and another feature of the capillaries are that they connect the arteries and the vein. They are the connecting feature of the arteries and vein. You can see the structure of arteries and vein, and between there are the capillaries. From the arteries, the red color oxygenated blood moves and form a small connective vessels, that is the capillaries, and during which it converts to a blue color. Now it is not a blue color in original. We show it with the color of blue, the deoxygenated blood, but it's originally the blood will always a red color only. Okay, it's only a concentration or the color complexion that changes with the light color and the dark color, but it is not that the blood will be in the veins, our blood is blue. That is not a thing. Okay. Now, when we talk about the lymph, you know about the blood system now, the circulatory system, you know about the heart system, and the heart, the blood goes to the arteries, and then through the arteries to the capillaries, and through the capillaries to the vein, and to the heart, and to the lungs, and all these things. Okay, but when we are saying there are many nutrients and many molecules that are traveling through the blood, there are lipid molecules as well, there are protein molecules as well. So there the molecules can be small and they can be very much large as well. Okay, now when we are saying that the arteries or the arterioles, like for example, we start from aorta. Aorta is the thickest one. Then it divides to form the arterioles. Then it becomes very small. And after that, then those arterioles divided to form the capillaries. And then it becomes very, very small. So the size is decreasing, the diameter is decreasing. Now, how will the lipid or the protein which is huge in size will able to move through the pipe which is getting smaller and smaller? It may block that pipe, it may block that vessel, right? So it will move outside the vessel and start traveling with the tissues, inside the internal spaces that are present between the tissues, between the cells. Okay, so that extracellular spaces are used for the movement of the nutrients, which are very much takes which much very much space. Okay, now when we are saying that during that flow there is another system which is present in our body, that is known as lymphatic system as well, and that lymphatic system helps to carry those thick molecules in the with the help of some amount of plasma is also moves out of the blood, and then they help to easily movement in through those limbs. Okay, so if we say it is yellow, light yellowish in color, why it is yellowish in color? Because there is no RBC that is moves out of the blood vessel. It's only the plasma, and it gives the yellow color. There is no RBC present, that's why there is no red color. Okay, it's a system of circulatory system only. It contains less protein molecule and digested food. Okay, the digested food, the short molecules are not present. It is another medium of circulation in body of humans. It flows in only one direction, that is from body tissue to the heart. They specifically move from body tissue to the hearts. Okay, then it is called the extracellular as well, or extracellular circulation or extracellular circulatory system. Okay, now the other name of the lymph is body fluid as well, because they are moving between the body cells. Okay, now lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries from the intracellular spaces, which joins to form the large lymph vessels that finally open into larger veins. They come from, or they protrude from the arterioles before entering in the capillaries, simple capillaries. They enter the lymphatic capillaries, and they move with the lymphatic capillaries, and when the blood flows from the arteriole to the capillaries and then to the venules, they enters the venules or the veins directly. As you can see, the arteries and the veins and the capillaries, the simple, the red and blue color, and then these green color structures. These green color structure are showing the lymphatic fluid or the tissue fluid or the body fluid, you can say. Okay, these lymphatic fluid, whenever there is a less space for the nutrients, they move out and enter this system for movement. Okay, and then they move towards the veins. Now, transportation in plants. When we talk about the transportation in humans, we said that the transportation of nutrients from digestive system to the cells, and the cells will form the energy, and that energy and the waste material is transported to the whole body where it is needed with the help of blood. But when we talk about the plant, there is no blood in the plants. But there are the vascular systems. There is a circulatory system that is known as a vascular bundle or the vascular system, which help in the transport of water and minerals and the food materials or the raw materials from in throughout the plant body. We know that the plant take the water and the minerals through the xylem and transport the food material from the leaf to all the parts of the body of the plant with the help of phloem. So we are going to talk about the phloem and xylem here only. So first of all, in case of the plant, conducting tissue are xylem and phloem that are responsible for transportation. Xylem carry water and minerals in upward direction only, and the phloem carry the preparation of the food from the leaf to the other parts of the plant. It is also responsible to carry the hormones made by the plants in their root tips and the shoot tips. Okay, now when we talk about the difference between xylem and phloem, the first difference is what they carry. The water and minerals, xylem carries water and mineral, and the phloem carries prepared food. Second main difference is that the xylem is only one directional, unidirectional. Okay, the water is moving from the root to the shoot tip, but the food, when let's say the food made by the leaf which is present in mid of the plant, then it will move towards the food will that is formed will move towards upward as well as downward, right? So the food or the phloem is bidirectional. Okay, you get the two main difference. When we talk about the water and minerals, that is we are basically talking about the xylem process. In the xylem, the transportation is of water and mineral take by the or done by the tracheids and the vessels. You studied in 9th class already. But now when we talk about the tracheids and the vessels, there is a diffusion process as well as osmotic pressure which is maintained in the xylem. Okay, now when we say osmotic pressure is maintained, how it is maintained, we know about the transpiration system, the evaporation of water from the plant body. When the stomata opens, the excess of water moves out of the body of the plant, and the sun evaporates that water, due to which there is a deficiency of water inside the leaf, which will form the suction pressure, due to which, like for example, when we take the straw, when we have the straw and we take a glass of water, if we suck in our mouth, the water will move upward with the help of pipe. How it is moving? Because we are creating a vacuum inside the pipe, and to overcome that vacuum space, the water will move upward. Similarly, in the plants as well, the water first of all enters with the help of diffusion from the roots. But when there is a suction pressure that is maintained in the leaves due to the transpiration, they will suck the water from the roots to the upward, and it will increase the speed of the transportation of water and minerals. We know that diffusion is a very slow process. So there will be another process, that is the suction pull, that is formed due to the transpiration process, which is having very much speed as compared to that of the diffusion or osmosis. In xylem tissue, vessel and tracheids, we had talked about all these things, and the diffusion of water enters the root hair. The water and minerals developed in the root care and the root xylem. Now, then they enter the stem xylem via petiole. Only 1 to 2% of the absorbed water is utilized in the photosynthesis and other metabolic activity. Thus, the remaining water comes through the stomata by the process of transpiration. This is I was talking about, right? That the whole water is used for transpiration process, and due to that transpiration, there is a loss of water which is compensated by the movement of the fresh supply of the water, and that is done by the xylem cells by creating a suction pull in the leaves. Okay, the transpiration helps in the upward movement of water from the roots to the leaves, which is called the ascent of sap. Then transportation of food and other substances. As we talk about the xylem, now we are talking about the phloem. Similarly, when the food is formed inside the leaf, okay, now the food has to be transported from one place to another, one part of the plant to the another. Like for example, the food is formed in the leaf, and now it will go and stored in the fruit. Okay, now how it will move? They help the movement of the food in the phloem is done by the process known as translocation. Okay, this word is very important. Okay, as we say that the xylem and phloem are having two differences. The water and minerals is transported and the direction of the movement. The third point is the process that helps in the movement. In xylem, that is a transpiration, and in phloem, that is a translocation. The transport of I'm repeating it again, the transport of soluble products of the photosynthesis is called translocation and is occur in the part of the vascular tissue called phloem. The phloem also transport amino acid and hormones. The substances are especially delivered to the storage organs to roots, fruit, seed, and to the growing organs. The translocation of food and other substances take place in the sieve tube with the help of the adjacent companion cells. They see from cell to cell, from the phloem cell to the phloem cell, it moves with the help of the sieve tube. But from the different parts, like from, for example, from branch to the stem, it moves with the help of the companion cell. It is bidirectional, upward and downward direction both. Osmotic pressure is the cause for the translocation. The translocation is done by the osmotic pressure. That is also important point. The water is done with the help of diffusion, and the food transport or the phloem use the function of osmotic pressure. So today we had completed with the transportation topic. We talked about the transportation in humans and transportation in plants as well. Now, in the next class, we will talk about the excretion process. Thank you.